2DG on location, special report. Bells. Heavy construction, as you can see, in a montage that you undoubtedly will or have watched. Pretty impressive. A lot bigger than anyone I've been to. If you've watched his video in St. Louis, you know it doesn't compare yet. But we're excited for the tour. 2DG.
We're at the Bell's Hop Yard. I'd really like to see this when it's grown up.
Grinding right there then?
No, that's all still whole malt right there.
Is it?
Our mill is right below our feet. It's attached to this guy. So the next step in the process is we've got to mill this grain to be able to crack open that starch where all that sweetness, that sugar is. By sugar, I'm talking glucose, maltose, maltose-free. I'm not talking sucrose or fructose. It's all milled in there, which crushes that starch granule and hopefully keeps that husk material, which you might still have in your teeth, keeps that intact. Because we use that as a filter later on to make it clear wort. We'll talk about wort later. Cool thing about our mill is it's a wet mill. We'll spray all that malt with warm water before we mill it, which keeps that husk material a little bit more friable, a little more pliable. It also starts the mashing process. Now here's where the science starts. Mashing is where you're soaking those grains in hot water to extract all the sugars. It's a little more complicated than that, but that's really what you're trying to do. And that is done right back here. You probably saw that big oatmeal porridge kind of spinning around. It looks like oatmeal. That's really what we're doing. We're soaking in warm water, hopefully extracting all those sugars. But you can see we've got a lot of malt in there that we don't want to eat. We don't want to drink it. So what we do is separate in the latter time right over here. Awesome, we're ready for that to be finished. After about 20 minutes, we'll pump it over here.
Yeah.
And then you see on the bottom there, you've got all those slots in the floor. That's the cold bottom to allow all that sweet sugar liquid that's now called wort to fall underneath. While leaving all of that malt material, that husk material up top. We'll rinse with hot water to extract more sugars. And what we're left with is all that dry spent grain, which we will then give the farmers. Same farmer we've been using, by the way, for the past 25 years. And he did not grow as quickly as we did. So he started his own malt distribution network, or spent grain distribution network, with 100,000 pounds that he picks up every single day in 2 or 3 truckloads. So not only does it feed his cows, it feeds other cows across the area and some chickens as well.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. Any questions about lautering, the separation of wort from grain? Yeah, doing all right?
Yeah.
Cool. So then we're left with wort, which we're going to boil now. That's where the real brewing happens. That'll be right over here. Sometimes we're brewing several batches a day, or several batches at a time. So we might be time when we need to store that wort separation. We store it in that. It's called a pre-run tank. Nothing in and out because pre-run tank. Just where we store that wort until it's ready to boil. And we'll pump it right over here when it is. That's pretty deep. Know how deep these vessels are. 200 barrels of wort.
Damn. So a mistake is costly. Yeah. What?
What those are, the cleaner heads.
Probably. Yeah. Yeah. I bet.
Spreading the wort on top like that is a more efficient way of heating, because if we were to heat from underneath, if we were to direct fire, we might scorch on the bottom. If we were steam jacketed, then we would be hotter on the outside than the inside. We'd have a tank this size. So we actually heat with a piece of technology called the calandria. Calandria is really just a heat exchanger where the heat will pass down underneath the vessel, pass across something hotter than itself, put that heat into that wort, and it has no place left to go but up and out. So that's what most brewers our size do. It's the best way to heat wort at this level. Now we boil for a couple reasons. Number one, that malt that we just made this wort with came from outside as an agricultural product. It was in a semi-truck. We're going to sterilize it. So we're going to boil it for 90 minutes. We're also going to add hops. So the longer you add hops, the more bitterness you get from them. It's going to balance out that sweetness in that beer. The less time you boil hops, the more flavor, the more aroma you're going to get. So just like malt, there's 100 different types of hops to choose from as well. So you've got a complex hop bill you can make in addition to your complex malt bill. Got a couple hops for you guys to smell back here.
Oh, yeah.
66,000 12-ounce servings. 5 minutes from here. And spin it. Looks like we're just about done spinning here. Pompadour is going to spin, 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 spin. Just like your kiddie pool, you left just in time. That's awesome. When you're running around the kiddie pool and all the sticks and sand go to the middle, same thing with the hops. That's what we're looking for. So hop matter goes to the middle, clear bright wort on the outside, and we'll pump off the outside so that we can show it. Then we don't have to worry about hops hanging out.
What's you know what this batch is?
Two-hearted. I asked the brewer when I saw him down there, like, hey, what are we brewing today? Two-hearted all day. Cool. So at this point, we've got really, really hot wort that yeast is not going to like because it would kill the yeast. So we got to chill. So now we chill with a plate chiller underneath our feet, and that's hundreds of different stainless steel plates where the hot wort goes on one side of them, over, and cold water goes on the other, over, effectively transferring that heat from the hot to the cold. So you wind up with cold wort and hot water. Now, hot water is actually hot liquor. It's hot brewing water that we store right back there for the next brew batch. Closed system. So that works.
Nice.
So we're cool. Now time to ferment, which we do right over here. Running 16 batches a day. That's possible. We have so many different vessels, and we're very, very familiar with this system. We really know what makes it tick. So it's really just everything that's over there in smaller vessels right over here. So we fermented that next door down there. What's the first thing we notice about this room?
Cool.
It's cool. Absolutely feels so much better than out there. That's because we're not brewing in here. We're not making wort. So up to this point, the brewers have done all they can to make wort. That bitter, sweet, now sugary liquids. And now it's time to reheat to make the beer. So there's a saying: the brewers make wort, the yeast will make beer. So from this side on, we're really trying to make that yeast happy and healthy. So what you're looking at is a lot of different vessels. The tall ones in the back, all the way going back to that back wall, are 200-barrel fermentation vessels. That's where we will transfer wort to fill. But the yeast, we will store in YV1 and YV2. You can see the small ones right there. Each of those hold about 10,000 pounds of yeast. The great thing about fermentation is every time you undergo some fermentation, you get 5 to 6 times more yeast than when you started. You get to reuse and repitch over and over and over this yeast. Which, by the way, let's talk about yeast. Our yeast is our house brew. We're the only brewery in the country using it. You can't find it in home brew stores. Unless you go to our general store, they have it there. It is in all of our bottles. We don't filter any of our ales. If you were to decant most of it up on the top, the slurry you see at the bottom is our house ale yeast. We like how it tastes. That's why when you have Oberon, we want it to be cloudy. That's why when you have Two-Hearted, it shouldn't be crystal clear. There's a little bit of haze in there because that's what makes our beer taste like bells. So a couple of local things going in. We've got local water, of course, and our yeast that make bells. That's why no other brewery tastes like bells. So fermentation, what is fermentation? Fermentation is when you have sugar and yeast that mix in an appropriate condition. That yeast will eat all that sugar and turn that into carbon dioxide, alcohol, and thousands of other beer-like flavors that you really like as you're drinking. So if you were to taste that wort after it's cooled down, don't burn your mouth, it's not going to taste like beer. The exact same ingredients minus all those thousands of small micro-units given by that yeast. So when you have Oberon, that fruitiness you get is all from the yeast. We don't have any kind of fruit to that beer at all. No orange peel, no coriander. It's all from the yeast. So that's a really good example of how yeast can taste, how we like it to taste. So the vast majority of all our beers are brewed with that housing of yeast. So oatmeal, you guys had it. Porter, Two Hearted, Oberon, Prairie Coast Oleo, you name it. All those ales are brewed with one type of yeast, our yeast. Of course, when we grow a lager, like our Oktoberfest or Lager of the Lakes, that has to be with a lager yeast that is actually a different species of yeast. Those like to work at even cooler temperatures. So instead of room temperature here, it feels like room temperature, we're talking like maybe around 50 degrees Fahrenheit. So when we ferment ales, it takes about 2-3 weeks. If you're working cooler for lagers, it can take about 6 to 8 weeks. But in that time, it cleans up a little bit more after itself. That's why your lagers are typically a little more crisp. Whereas ales are a little more fruity. The stuff up behind. Should we need to build up more yeast? Because of course yeast will mutate really quickly. You only use it like 6 to 8 times. But of course when you multiply you can use each batch 6 to 8 times. That's good for us. But should we need to propagate more? Our yeast is frozen in our lab, which is right next to those windows. It's frozen at -80 Celsius. And we will take that out and we will propagate it with these yeast propagators. White E1 and white E2. So make enough to split into a batch beer, and then we get 5 to 6 times more of that yeast. You also notice that wall with those 200 barrel fermenters still up against. You can walk underneath it. That was our external wall we built here in 2002, 2003. Just like those windows on the 50 barrel system. That was the other wall. We put there to there to fit. So like I said, we're under our 9th expansion right now. We've gone way, way farther than just that wall right there. But let's barrel. If you just go all the way to the right, we have hundreds and hundreds of barrels. We do it right here in this facility. We don't barrel age in any caves. I don't know of any caves around, but that's where we do it here. Let's see. Oh, yes! Fermentation is also exothermic. It gives off heat every time. So you have to be able to control that heat or else you get some really funky flavors given off by that yeast. The way we do it, you'll notice that all of our vessels here are stainless steel. They're actually double walled. So inside those walls is glycol being pumped through and through, which is a commercial refrigerant, never touches the beer. Well, it's food grade, so if it did, it wouldn't kill you. But it doesn't touch the beer. That will maintain that fermentation temperature of that beer until completion. Should we need to chill it? We can do that with the glycol. And also, the other great thing about yeast is when it's done fermenting, it'll do what's called flocculation. It'll jump together and settle out to the bottom of the beer. That's why you get mostly clear beer. It's not really hazy when you're drinking it. And that's why we all have cones on the bottoms of these vessels, because that yeast will settle out the bottom of the cone. The beer will be up top, and you can just recycle from that cone at the bottom. It's really made for that kind of process. You also notice here that we have all these bags for the 50 barrel system. They still have to open those the old-fashioned way, unlike for the 200 barrel. Their mill is just behind that can wall right there. All right, any questions about fermentation? Not so much? All right, let's talk about packaging right through here. So it looks very automated, which is very, whoa, just talking to the window, leave myself very loud. Very important that we have this automation, because if not, then we're very, very slow. We used to, back at our downtown location, package everything by hand. So we'd have an automated filler, but we would grab those bottles with our hands and put them in the cases by hand and then glue them, tape them, whatever. It took forever. So this guy right here is capable of packaging 260 bottles a minute. Super fast, which is awesome. But the thing is, 260 bottles a minute isn't quite what we produce here on this 200 barrel system. We do a lot more than that. So actually half of everything that we package goes into kegs. And the kegging line is actually right next door, past those plastic flaps. We have 4 lines, we run 3 at a time. So if one line goes down, we have a 4th to go back up on to be full capacity at all times. We're able to fill 210 half-barrel kegs an hour. But you've also seen us in cans, hopefully. So next to the kegging line is our canning line. And that canning line, which we've been running for 2 years now this month, can fill 500 12-ounce cans a minute. About twice as fast as this. The thing is, we still don't have enough bottles. So we built a brand new bottling line. We're undergoing tests right next to the canning line, which can do 750 bottles a minute. Holy smokes. It is super fast. But when things go that fast, things break really, really, really easily and really hard. So we're still working on that, working on those tests so we can really produce a lot of great bottles for you guys. Any question about our bottling line here? I know there's not much to see. I apologize for that, guys. It was running. I don't want to make you feel bad. It was running last Saturday. We're doing more over on. It was running yesterday even, but it looks like they're going to do a deep clean right now. You got the tops off everything. Do you guys want to know the specific steps of this bottling hall? Would that help?
If you want,
things aren't really moving. You can't really see what's going on.
Sure.
So after we get all the bottles off the pallet into a single file line, we're going to rinse those bottles. We have a 40 head bottle rinser and a 40 head filler, which by comparison, our new bottling line has a 110 head filler and rinser. So after we rinse it, then we try to get rid of the #1 enemy to beer. In fact, it's oxygen. Absolutely. If you've ever had stale beer, that's because oxygen's gotten into it. If you ever had it too hard and it didn't taste like the one you just had right now, that's because of oxygen. The thing that speeds up oxidation is heat. The hotter it is, the more your hoppy beer is not going to taste hoppy anymore. So when I go buy an IPA, make sure it's always in the fridge. And I look at that bottled on date, which by the way, we do have bottled on dates, not Best By dates. I make sure it's fairly fresh. So to combat oxygen, we will vacuum suck every single bottle twice, as well as purge it with carbon dioxide twice before filling it. Then we're going to crown cap it. But the thing is, we're filling at 34 degrees Fahrenheit, because that's what it comes from the tanks after it's carbonated. If that gets warmer, just like your iced tea on the beach, what's going to happen? It's going to sweat. We can't slap a label on a sweaty bottle. It won't stick. So we have to force that dew point. We have to force that condensation, which is what this pizza oven thing is right in front of us. We will spray warm water on it. Now let me emphasize, we don't pasteurize any of our beers. We don't filter any of our ales. So we're just warming it up with like 80-degree water. And as soon as that bottle is 80, it comes right out the other side. It's all sweaty as well as wet from the warm water. We will air blow that bottle dry, and then we'll be able to label it. Front, back, and neck label. We also will date and code that bottle so you know exactly what day it was packaged. From there, we go to the casing. It'll drop 13 inches, a case at a time, into that box. Which, by the way, this line will make 11 cases a minute at full speed. And then it goes to be sealed right around the corner. It's kind of hard when it's not running. You can't really visualize it happening, but that's the gist of it. That's what we do. Any questions about that before we go on to a little bit of history?
You said you don't filter any of the beers?
We don't filter any of our ales. We filter our lagers in the traditional German way.
How often is this thing running?
Every day. Unfortunately, it's not running today, but we have to run it almost all the time. Which actually, if this is down, it might mean that the new one is running, which could be good news for everybody.
Right.
But the thing is, the new line is so big, you need more than just 50 barrels just to prime that system. So anything we brew on that 50 barrel system, which by the way I didn't talk about, we should have. Hop Slam was brewed on the 50 barrel system. Planet Series was all brewed there. Expedition Style, all of our really specialty, still nationally distributed beers are all brewed there. Why? Because we're still very comfortable on that system. We know how it runs. That guy's still pretty new. So we can really make that 50 barrel system sing. So all of those, if they're going to be bottled, will still be bottled on this line because it's not enough beer to really finish, or start, I should say, the new bottling line. Cool. You guys like history? And none of you are from Michigan, so you're about to see some Michigan brewing history. I'm not from Michigan either, I'm from Illinois, originally. Let's check this out around the corner. Have you guys ever had Stroh's beer before? Stroh's is a brand from Detroit, Michigan, until it was sold in '85. It went out of business in 1985. But that's when we started brewing, was 1985. Larry being a Chicagoan, but now a Michigander, a transplant here, loves Michigan and Michigan brewing history. He met with John Stroh several years ago. And John Stroh was like, hey Larry, I've got, I don't know, hundreds of these fermentation tanks in a warehouse not being used. Would you like some? He's like, of course I would. So we bought 4. You can see 3 of them right here. The 4th we used to build these wall mounts right there, so you can touch and feel. These were made in the 1900s. These are over 100 years old and brewed on up through the 1950s, because 50s is really when the stainless steel started to take over. But this is your top of the line technology for many, many years. Excuse me. They're made of cypress wood. They're 100 barrels each. Traditionally, they're lined with pitch and or beeswax. These are not lined at all. We don't need that. We're actually not even looking for wood flavor. We just want them to be a nice, clean fermentation vessel. So we've brewed 2 beers on them. The first one was our lager, just to make sure that it passed all of our tests, and they did, of course. So then we brewed an extra special bitter, Andrew's Ale, which in some places you can still find it on tap. It's out of our pub by now. Pretty cool, huh?
Yeah.
So this room is under positive pressure to keep wild yeast and dust from coming in. It will blow everything out when you walk in that door. Used for open fermentation. You can see the storage solution in there just to keep it moist, keep it from being brittle. Yeah, it's pretty cool.
Yeah.
Any questions about this room? You can see how they fit perfectly in here, all three. We built this room for these tanks. We reconstructed them in about a week. By we, I mean a 4th generation water tower builder from Chicago who really knew what he was doing. I would not be able to do that, yeah?
What's the lid for?
Oh, the lid is a cleaning lid. So just like in all of our vessels, we have those little balls you probably saw in each of the vessels with holes in them. They'll spray hot water, caustic, or acid depending. That's got one of those underneath it as well. We don't like to send our brewers into closed vessels like this. Closed space is very dangerous. Carbon dioxide is a natural byproduct of fermentation, like a lethal dose is produced every time. So we keep our brewers out of all of our vessels, and we'll clean automatically like that. It's way safer that way. Plus, imagine me in there like scrubbing it down all the time. That's not fun. We don't want our brewers to have to do that every time. You can also see how big brewers, or I should say how small brewers used to be back when they would fit through those brewers' ways. I don't know if any of our brewers can fit through there now. You know, kind of like me. Yeah, they used to hop in there. Child labor laws back then, maybe, I don't know. But yeah, that's pretty cool. Yeah, but for now, that's all I have for you, unless you have questions for me. Did you guys have learned something, I should say, on the tour?
Yeah.
Very good. Awesome. We'll stick around, you know, for as long as you want, maybe till 1 o'clock or so, and I'm going to head out. I do have some surveys if you want to fill them out. They're not necessary, but at the end of every month, we do a drawing from those surveys, and the winner gets a $50 gift certificate to the general store right next to our cafe. And at the general store, they sell beer. So that's always encouraged.
All right.
You guys use whole flower hops and brewers?
No, we only do, we do pelletized hops for absolutely everything. So the question was, do we use whole flower? Whole flower is how they grow on the vine, specifically the vine. And I know of 3 breweries in the top 50 that use it, that use whole flower. That's Sierra Nevada, Victory, and Deschutes. We use pellets because we have a German brew house. Also, they're a lot easier to use and way smaller to store. We have, yeah, question.
So what's with the hop yard then?
Hop yard, great question. Hop yard, it's 2 or 3 acres. Well, it's a hobby. We love to grow them as well. But also, underneath the hop yard is our geothermal system. And we can't build buildings on top of it, so why not grow hops? So that's fairly new as well.
So do you pelletize those then? Or?
We might throw them into some beers downtown.
Oh, yeah?
We won't have enough from that farm to really do much over here.
Wow.
Yeah.
Oh, you got the Stroh's guy.
Yeah, look at the Stroh's guy. He seems quite pleased with himself.
Bohemian beer.
So yeah, this is a pretty cool room right here.
Yeah.
Awesome.
I didn't even notice that. Oh. That's cool.
I used to have a fuse in here. I could turn it on, but the fuse has gone missing. All right, so if you guys don't have any questions, I'll walk you back to the front door, and we can hang out there if you want. Here's that wooden sculpture.